Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is Retrodict. To utilize present information or ideas to infer or explain a past event or state of affairs. That's the sound of me getting to my page in my notebook, and I've never introduced myself properly. My name is Jason Tagmeyer. I design and publish some board games. 7 Sevens, Pixel Lincoln, Maximum Throwdown, Pretense, 60 Seconds to Save the World, a couple others, and then a whole bunch of stuff via Button Shy as publisher. So I might introduce myself from time to time. It's kind of weird, kind of awkward. I don't love to do it, but it's a Friday, so we're getting wacky. No, we'll try it. I'll try it. So anyway, today's word is retrodict. It's utilizing present information to explain a past state of affairs. And what I was thinking with this was just the making sense or justification of prior actions, but later in a game. So I can imagine, and I have a whole little sidetrack, but I'll start with this and I'll go into the sidetrack. But I can imagine a way that players, say build, like let's say they build a city. I mean, the most obvious is like a tile building city game. And the results and the rewards are not yet determined at the point where you're building the city. So maybe they're voted on or bid on, or maybe they're created fully by the players, just straight up, creative decision, come up with it. And but I can picture trying to justify your earlier actions at the time were, completely made up into future success. So an example might be, I build a whole bunch of air conditioner stores in our city. For some reason, I'm just stocking up on air conditioner stores, but I don't know why, and I don't know if it's hot, if it's cold, if it's summer. I have no idea, but I'm stocking up on those air conditioner stores. So in the beginning, it could be just, purely random and chaos and luck and whatever. But I feel like there needs to be that midway point break where, you start to condition. I have air conditioning stuck in my head. You start to condition or, sway the reasoning for everything into your favor. So if I build up all these air conditioner stores, and then we find out later via whatever that the weather is not in my favor. It's not hot. It's cold. It's very cold out. So I've got these air conditioners. I need to repurpose them somehow. I can reuse them to keep food cold, for example, which that might not keep it too fresh, but it'll keep it cool. It's not going to work on like popsicles or anything. It's going to keep the food cold, or to prop up heaters. You can use them to prop up anything, but I'm just using the boxes to prop up items to sell, for example. But the one thing with heaters I said was it's cold out and the air conditioner not going to do anything, but your opponent stocked up on like heating stores that made heaters or service heaters or whatever. But let's say that they make heaters and I can use my air conditioners and aim them at my opponent. This is such an extreme example, but I can aim them at my opponent and it'll force their heaters to go down. So if I also stocked up on heaters, I could really sell my heaters by using my air conditioners against my opponent. And that's just a very bizarre, version of it. But if I stocked up on one thing earlier in a game and conditions change, me being able to use that item in a different way and justify the use of it for an all completely different purpose. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. I wrote that in a worker placement game, you could be placing workers based on the shape or size of a location. So let's say there's a location that holds one person, there's one that holds two. There could be ones that hold, 3, but 2 of them need to be laying down or whatever it is. There's all these different areas on the board, but what the areas do is yet to be determined. So after we've all placed our workers, then there could be a phase where we're placing our the actions, what they actually do. So I would assume that there's a lot of player interaction here where together, me and you went on the same place, and you even placed 2 people there and I only placed 1, but I'm going to determine what that action is. Sometimes it's going to benefit us both. Sometimes it's going to hurt us both. Sometimes it's going to benefit me and not you because it's something I need and you don't need. But there's a lot of interaction in those shared locations, and I think that's a cool concept, and it might have even been done in some way. It's sort of a little extreme in this that would need to be toned down, but placing your workers and then later deciding, what that actually meant. So I also wrote in my notebook something that's completely different, but it's a concept that fits the mold here, and it's probably worth sharing because I've been sitting on it forever. So I've probably been trying to play with this for 5 years. I would say that's probably pretty accurate to say 5 years, since the idea was a reverse deck builder, which I'm sure people have tried in various ways, because at one point the thing to do was to take something and invert it and make the opposite or whatever. So this game, it's a reverse deck builder, so it wouldn't be exactly retrodicting, but more, and I wrote the word retro-predicting. So in the game, all players make a wager at the beginning of the game, and the wager is how many points you think you're going to get. The game's happening in reverse, so we're at the end of the game, and this is how many points you scored. But we're actually in the beginning of the game, and you're just saying, I scored 87 points. Everybody's going to come up with their own number, and I always kind of think of it as a simultaneous reveal, but you could build up to it so there's actually some information there and kind of gauging your opponents. But let's just say we all come up with our same own number. Mine's 87 or 86 or whatever I said. And yours is 59, which is way off. So you lost, according to this phase. And then another player's in the 70s, or I have no idea. So you've got these numbers, and then during the game, you're going to... Actually, there's sort of still a beginning phase where you're gaining cards. You get all your cards, and you build your deck. And it's not the same way as in a deck builder where you're playing the game to build a deck. You're just simply, in turn, taking cards. I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that. And eventually I get to a full deck. And you could stop at whatever point you want, because you're going to try to get rid of those cards. And then once you're ready to start the game is... Unlike a deck builder where you're playing cards to get other cards, in this one, you're playing cards to get rid of cards. And you are constantly whittling your deck down to nothing. If you run out of all your cards, you've scored your points. If you don't run out of your cards, then you score your points less the points on the cards that you have stuck in your hand. And I think it even got a little more obscure than that, because getting rid of cards was gaining you points, and you're trying to get to that exact number. And if you went off of that number a little bit, then there was a penalty. So I went for 86, for example, and I got stuck with a couple cards in hand. And even in playing the ones, I didn't get to 86 or whatever. So it'll adjust your score at the end. So I didn't quite hit 86, but I was close enough, and I ended up with like 72. But you said you were going to get 59, and you were right on the money. So maybe there's a bonus for that. And that's where I think it kind of falls apart, because if I put a low number, am I just hosed? Or am I potentially the only person who succeeds to get out, and cash out at the end and hit my number? So that's where I kind of got hung up on it and never even did anything with it. And sometime, it'll be 5 years this year, doing the wallet line, my whole entire, perspective on games changed from being able to sit here and just design like I'm doing right now to actually publishing and making games. So I'm trying to get back into this fun part. So that's where I get this little daily exercise. Share my little story about the deck builder, but I'm curious about this worker placement thing and placing workers, then allocating what they're actually doing. So thank you for listening. This is the end of the week. I think I'm going to do some kind of weekend recaps. I'd love to, and I got to just figure out the format for it. But if you have anything, please share it. Thanks again, and we will see you this weekend with Chip Uwe.